Good morning, Neil here with the Off the Net Radio Show on my series Who's Who in Santa Cruz. I'm here with my friend Ben, and Rich is over here to the left. And this morning's topic is ham radios. Are they still being used? Are they used today? And if they're used today, what are they for? I'm sure we got a lot of other questions we can talk about. But Ben, why don't you start? Tell me about ham radio. I know. Start again. Here we go.
For all years, I'm considered a newbie. I've been licensed since 2021. So ham radio is a very interesting hobby. I believe that I used to work for the police department. I never really used my radio back in the day, but I think I was really compensating because I didn't use my police radio. I figured I would get into ham radio. Didn't really know how awesome the community was going to be being plugged into it. But ham radio is a great backup for what they call M-comms, or when shit hits the fan kind of stuff.
Like the earthquake, right? Back in.
We actually had a gal that is part of our club that was what we call a net control, or like a dispatcher, who would call in different locations or check in different operators from different locations to get a damage assessment of how things were going. And
so an operator is anybody who has a ham radio.
You have to be licensed.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you that question. You have to be licensed?
Yeah, you have to be licensed.
So you can go buy one, but you just can't go ahead and turn it on and start using it, right?
You can listen.
Okay, so
you can listen.
You just cannot transmit.
Why don't you move to this over here a little bit? There we go. So I get you both in at the same time.
Yeah.
Perfect. So if I go out and buy one today, I can listen to it,
Of course,
but I can't speak or use it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to, and you should not, because it's pretty trackable.
A couple of exceptions, right? Which for loss of property or personal injury, you can get on as an emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the two exceptions.
Okay.
The person who doesn't have a license to use a radio.
Is a license an easy thing to get? Like you just could have fill out something online and away you go,
Yes
or is it like
it's
a driver? Is it like a driver's test?
It's harder. I consider it more time consuming than a driver's test.
Okay.
All right. It requires certainly a minimum 3 hours to study. Depends how much knowledge one has in technology, but it does require a little bit of a load to study for the exam, since there's government regulations and stuff that's not intuitive.
Okay, I got my question slowing now. Here we go. So in the age of social media, where like a phone, right, which I can use, I can DM, direct message people on Facebook and Instagram or wherever. Why would I want to go out and buy myself a ham radio?
That's a very good point, because you already got a radio. Like billions of people on this planet are all into two-way radios.
Right.
The iPhone, Android phones, radios are more popular today than ever for the consumer. Also, in ham radio, it's more popular today than ever. There are more people with ham radio licenses than ever before.
Yeah.
The demographics that kind of come here are so many different types, right? Some people come from emergency services backgrounds.
Yeah.
There's a huge integration with ham radio and emergency services. Like, I never knew this when I joined, but the sheriff's office, both county and city, emergency operations centers have rooms dedicated with ham radio operators to be auxiliary communicators. If things go down.
If this goes down, like you're talking about power outage, right? Just a minute ago, talking about power. If this goes down and it's unusable, you need a ham radio.
It stays up, yeah.
Right?
So,
Stays up, right?
If power goes down, usually people immediately get on the radio. They start figuring out in what area they have power.
Yeah.
Some people who have power can assist the people without power, like communicate with PG&E that this area does not have power.
Yeah.
When I hear sirens a lot of the time, I'm like, why are people rushing up Highway 1 up the coast, right?
Yeah.
Hop on the radio. I can listen to the fire department, the police department, or I can talk with other hams who have been already listening in.
It's kind of a fun thing to have too, and you've kind of fun. It's like a nice hobby to have.
Yeah, and as a hobby.
And you can excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. The ham radio. I heard you talking about people overseas, like in England, or you can talk to people worldwide.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not just like from Aptos, there's a 40-mile range. No.
Different radio frequencies have different properties, such as like how far they can communicate, or how much bandwidth, how much data they can communicate per second, kind of thing. So like we have the ability to communicate. Like I've communicated with South Africa from here. and Australia, New Zealand, so you can have these long distance communications as well as short distance communications.
Yeah.
So you kind of it's a way to build community.
Yeah.
Either international or local.
Right. Okay, your days in law enforcement back at Capitol, was it? Did they use ham radios back then? Or,
No.
Well, no, they didn't have them. Do they have them now? Do you think?
The only department that I know that's encouraging that is Scotts Valley
Okay.
PD. And
Yeah.
due to the fact that there's one sergeant there that's licensed,
Okay.
and he's actually trying to put together a backup communication for that department.
Right. So the ham radio, how does the ham radio work? Like where I used to work at the radio station at KSCO, which has different bandwidths at different times of day, even. And that was the only thing that was working during the earthquake was the radio station.
I think what they were using back then was VHF, UHF.
Okay.
They were using high frequency for that.
Okay.
As it's more local.
Okay.
And so we wanted to get damage assessment from different operators from the county.
So it's ham radio. What's the ham part mean?
It's a play on the word amateur radio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's just instead of saying am, you start calling it ham.
Okay,
So it's
all
just
right,
kinda
okay.
like a
I thought it was going to be
spin.
something technical, but it was pretty easy.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
I know. In fact, all this slang that, like, you know, the kids, when they say TMI, LOL,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
even dating myself now because that was like circa 10 years ago.
Right.
Ham radio operators have had shorthand since like the 20s, even earlier, once the radio telegraphy started working, like, because when they started communicating Morse code, it's so challenging to send every character counts. They decided to create all these shorthands, like people do texting nowadays.
So before I forget, you guys have an event Saturday, right?
Yes,
For people
Saturday.
can come by and maybe learn about ham radios, right?
Yes,
Can you?
there'll be different stations there so that people can get an idea. Like, for example, Rich will be running the CW station or Morse code.
Okay.
So Morse code is still a popular thing. Even
Morse
to this
code
day.
still being used today, really?
Yeah.
No kidding,
quite,
really.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Partly as a hobby, there's unique properties of Morse code that it doesn't require a lot of power to communicate around the world. So if you don't need a lot of power, you don't need big batteries, you can get things as small as your smartphone that will communicate thousands of miles.
Oh.
So the thing about Morse code is it kind of like puts the communication burden on the operator. The operator is more like the computer translating letters to these codes.
Yeah.
And then sending the codes. But the great thing about it is that it just is so powerful to just bust through around the world.
Was the ham radio used in the armed forces? Was it used in the armed forces, like during the Second World War or
Yes and
Vietnam?
no. Ham
Whatever?
radio's being
And
used
is it still being used today in the armed
It's
forces?
used
at all?
substantially in Ukraine right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the thing is that in the wars, so there's actually a law that in the war the government can take away ham radio, take away those frequencies, because ham radio is really just frequencies. All of us play on our own frequencies, right? If you're on Wi-Fi at home, you're playing your little 5 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz frequency band, right? Ham radio operators are. If you're on your smartphone, you're in the 700 megahertz. Frequency band, right? Everyone has their little laneways, like a highway. And ham radio operators got this really nice laneway. And during wartime, a lot of the times the governments take away that laneway, then they reuse all that equipment for the military to communicate.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because it's very low cost equipment.
Yeah.
For communication that they just start giving to the military. Now the military takes over all those bands.
So if I want to get in the ham radio fun you guys are having, we're talking about what's the cost of it? What's the cost of the radio and what's the cost of the license and stuff like that?
The license, I believe, is $35.
Oh, it's cheap. And the radio?
Yeah, and then the cheapest radio you can buy, which a lot of us have, that we tinker with, is $16 on Amazon.
You can get it in for not a lot of money.
Yeah, you can get in for very little money. You can spend as much as you want.
Okay.
Like people have like $10,000 antennas.
Oh my
Yes.
And not to
I
mention
saw
the
one on
structure they
Seascape
build.
Boulevard. Seascape going towards the golf course on the left-hand side, the huge antenna.
Yeah. So like it kind of can start low, or you can go
Okay.
you can go high.
So the bigger the antenna, the bigger muscle.
It all really depends on how you want to get into it too. I mean, it's like a buffet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
I mean, you're not stuck with, okay, well, how much money do I need to get into this hobby?
Yeah.
So you can easily just go into it for less than $1,000, $500,
What's that?
whatever the case might be. It just depends on your license class.
Okay.
Because your license class will determine the kind of equipment that you're going to want to
So
use.
what's different? Why would you have different license classes?
For
Why is
access to
there
different bands?
Okay.
So like in HF, you have more access to bands if your license class is, let's say, a general or an extra.
Okay.
Extra being the highest class that you can get in ham radio.
Let's go back to the party. Let's go back to that thing you're having this weekend, Saturday. It starts. It's over here by the on Old Dominion Court behind the Best Western. Is it Hilton now?
Exactly.
Huh?
Yeah, it's that old par 3 course.
Oh, the old golf course. Is that where it's taking
That's
place?
where we're going to be setting up this coming Friday. They'll set up the day before.
Yeah.
So they'll be ready to launch at 10 o'clock on Saturday.
Okay. And what do you hope to show the public?
Well, like so, we hope to show both the public and the club kind of fun with ham radio.
Okay.
So it could be like there's all kinds of different types of groups of people that join ham radio. Like preppers are a big thing because they need communication.
What's a prepper?
A prepper is a person who prepares for emergencies.
Okay.
And some critical parts of preparing for an emergency is maintaining communication.
Okay.
So preppers get into ham radio. I come from a technology background, and I see technology as a hobby.
Yeah.
And so I'm really into STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics hobbies. And so I see ham radio as a communication tool that I can tinker with as deep as I want. Right. I can build my own radio.
Right.
I can modify radios. Right.
Interesting.
And so I tinker with them a lot from a science and technology kind of standpoint. And then there's other people who like it who are into public service.
Yeah.
If you want to volunteer as public service, you can join these emergency groups that will be emergency communicators.
Yeah.
And they do things such as they support kind of secondary and tertiary services in an emergency. So for instance, like at the CZU fire, right?
Yeah.
All the firefighters are going in to take out the fires, right? All the police are going there to secure the area, right? Who's caring for, like, let's say the animals there who might be risking a death from the fire, right? What about some people who don't want to leave that area for their own reasons? How can they get medication if they need medication?
Yeah.
So what happens is the amateur radio operators step in, and since they're amateur radio operators who are also disaster service workers, they get allowed into those areas to go rescue horses. That was a big thing at the CZU fire. Evac.
Right.
Where they would go with veterinarians and other volunteers, and they would be the communicators to make sure that the water bombers would not just drop water on them.
On horses,
or the people trying to rescue these horses, and also keep the people who are trying to rescue the horses or other animals aware of the environment around them, like how the fire is shifting, stuff like that. So that's from the emergency public service perspective. Right? As I mentioned, I do it in science and technology. Right? Like, the smartphone, I think, is such a cool thing because really what it does is it glues a radio to a computer and puts it in your pocket. Right? You can tinker with radio. You can tinker with computers all you want. Right? Go online. You can program anything. You can buy your own circuit boards, build your own computers, all kinds of stuff. Right? On the radio side, for me, it was a big mystery for a long time. It was completely magic. Right? And so I learned a lot about technology from a computer standpoint, but I was always really confused about and not understanding the magic of the radio interface, the radio in a smartphone. And so ham radio allowed me to start looking into the radio and tinker with the radio side of a smartphone as much as the computer side of a smartphone. But there's other people who get into it for friendly competitions. So ham radio has a big contesting kind of group. And contesting is generally about people trying to make in a contest, it's a bunch of operators trying to make as many contacts as possible. And the person with the most contacts wins. And you can make it global, you can make it local, you can play with all kinds of different ways to contest.
I remember growing up in England, we used to have the BBC, BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. But we used to have those ships that were offshore that play rock and roll, and we forgot what they were called.
Pirate radio stations.
Pirate radio stations. Yeah, they'd be offshore, and I used to catch them. Used to, to get in the middle of the night. You had to get the radio dial, and you get it, go out, come back, and.
Yeah.
Was it called? I forgot what they were called again. They were.
I don't know what the pirate radio ships were.
Was it pirate radio ship? Yeah, I remember that though.
Yeah.
That's a similar concept, huh?
Very similar, and I'm sure a lot of those people come from ham backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because in ham radio, you get to tinker with radios. You're allowed by the FCC. You're allowed to crack these things open and play with them.
Fiddle around,
And some might just change the frequency for which they can transmit from, let's say, 140, 150 megahertz. Where a lot of amateur radios transmit to around the 100 megahertz, where all the FM radio stations transmit.
So 10 o'clock Saturday morning, right?
10 to 4.
At where the old golf course used to be behind the hotel. Go around the. You can get. It's easy to get to.
Yep, and lunch will be 12 to 1.
It's 12 to 1
for lunch.
For lunch.
You can come a little bit early so you can check out all the
and you can learn how to become a
ham radio operator. Play with ham radios.
Yes.
Like during the event, people who don't even have a license have the ability to get on the air.
Check it out. Yeah.
Is
there? You guys have a website?
Yeah.
Your little group here. Or what is it?
It's k6ej.org.
Say that again.
k6ej.org.
Okay.
As we ham radio operators say, Kilo 6 Bravo.
You're gonna have to text that to me in a minute.
Yeah.
And you're on. You have Facebook or social media stuff, or just a website?
I think we do have a Facebook page, but I don't think it's very active.
Okay.
So
We'll just stick with the website.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I learned a lot this morning. It's very interesting stuff, and I'm going to come out there on Saturday and check it out.
Great stuff.
And so, if you guys, anybody out there looking for a hobby or something brand new, something very not sophisticated, it seems very simple to be using, and it's been around for how long has it been around for?
Well, ham radio. Well, our club has been around since 1916, so our club is 109 years old.
Holy
Just
smoke.
the club.
Yeah, you look 116 too.
Just because you dated the same girl.
Oh, you had to bring that up. Oh, damn it. Anyway, thanks guys for doing this morning.
When all is said and done, it's the people.
Yeah.
We're going to gather together and put on this big field event on Saturday, and it's when we all come together to be a team and make something that's a team effort.
Well, I wish you luck Saturday, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you get better weather than this, but who knows?
We come away from these having learned something every single year.
I'm coming away to learn something. I learned something this morning. But Ben, thanks, Rich. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Greg, this is Neil.